Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, days and gays, she is back with a brand new video. Standing at 5'5", dribbling that Apple Pencil on her iPad, I give you Daxaniart. Hey peeps, it's your girl Daxaniart and welcome back to my YouTube channel. For today's drawing, I decided to Space Jam myself and turn me into a cartoon. As if I haven't done that to myself already. But more specifically, I drew myself wearing the Toon Squad jersey as if I'm on the team. In the beginning, I only drew up to my thighs, but then it got a little awkward. So then I decided to get a little sexy and draw my knees, which you will see later. Low-key, I wanted to draw myself as if I were on the Goon Squad, but I couldn't think creatively how I would make myself look like the others on the team. I've always been a fan of playing basketball, but not so much a fan of watching professional basketball. And for the reference photos, I googled a couple of female basketball players, and then of course I had to pull out my own high school basketball photo. Ayy. I played all of the positions, your girl had hops, okay? I even dreamed of playing for the WNBA at one point, but then I played for high school varsity and my mind changed real quick and realized it wasn't fun anymore and everyone took it too seriously. Kind of like how everyone is taking Space Jam: A New Legacy a little too seriously. This movie was fun and I was cracking up, but I just want to address some things my generation, millennials, are talking crap about. So this isn't necessarily a review, but kind of is. It's more of a rant, and there's no spoilers in this video, so if you haven't seen it, you'll be fine. First thing, LeBron's acting sucks. That's what a lot of people are saying, right? Well, no shit. So was Michael Jordan's acting. But a lot of people want to act like his was good. No. Rewatch the movie again. It was bad. Warner Brothers basically made fun of themselves a few times in A Space Jam: New Legacy. LeBron has a scene where he declines a movie deal of some sort because, in his words, he says it's not a good idea because he's not an actor, he's an athlete. For this reason, I'm pretty sure a lot of people were saying the same thing about Michael Jordan's acting back then. So they kind of made fun of that for this movie because they expected us to bring that up as a reason why this movie, or why we think this movie is so bad. But I mean, yeah, his acting was bad, duh, but I gotta give LeBron props for his voice acting, which was better than his on-camera acting. I dug his voice acting a lot better. I don't watch professional basketball, but I know who the greats are, at least most of them, because my dad had me watch a lot of basketball games from pros to help me work on my own game. But I know LeBron has a lot of haters, and clearly it was mentioned in the movie too, how he jumped from one team to the other, etc. And I think there is a bias not only by people who grew up with the original Space Jam movie, but also people who just don't like LeBron and try to make it seem like he's being compared to Michael Jordan in these movies. No, it's not the case at all. It's called A New Legacy for a reason. As much as people don't want to hear it, but for kids today, their Michael Jordan is LeBron James. And yeah, if they did this movie like 10 years ago, it could have been Kobe Bryant. Rest his soul. A lot of people are saying it was cheesy. Well, yeah. And it's the Looney Tunes. It's going to be cheesy one way or another. It's not supposed to be a serious movie. It's not going up for any Oscar nominations anytime soon, I'm sure. And if you go back and watch the first one, there are some cheesy things in there too. But then, you know, of course, everyone has their own perception of what cheesy is. I love cheesiness to a certain extent, right? Like there's the bad cheesy, then there's the good cheesy. And I think in this film, for me, there's a lot of good cheesiness that I do love and admire, and I laughed. Then of course a lot of people talk crap about the rap battle scene, which I thought was hilarious, but I think it's more of a nod to the original soundtrack from the first film. They had the Looney Tunes do a rap on the soundtrack of the first Space Jam, but I guess it just never made it to the movie, and so I assume they were like, let's do some rapping in this new movie, right? Let's actually have it in the movie. So I think that was like why I liked it personally. Then you have people saying that the references were outdated. Were they though? They are kind of more geared to us millennials, right? And most of us millennials are parents who grew up in that era that those movies came out. The Matrix, Austin Powers, right? And those are some things that were in the movie, and they were honestly pretty hilarious. I was digging them a lot, but a lot of people are saying, oh, well, they're outdated. No kid is going to understand that. Well, this movie is also kind of for the adults who grew up with the original Space Jam as well. I think for a lot of animated films, they throw in references that only adults are going to understand. Disney does this, Shrek did this a lot, and they even did it in the first Space Jam movie too. Not only is there references for the kids, but for us adults too. Then, of course, people were upset about the redesign for Lola and taking out Pepe Le Pew. I didn't care for Pepe Le Pew in the first place growing up because his character was just really annoying to me when I was little and I would watch Looney Tunes. I just hated Pepe Le Pew. And, you know, the whole thing of him being canceled for the reason, I mean, if you look at it like that, yeah, sure, but I'm not even going to dive into it. But I just thought it was annoying. I thought he was a pest, and it's clearly that the cat wasn't into him, but he was all over her. It's just kind of like, get off of me, punk. Like, leave me alone. That's why, like, as far as him not being in the film, I don't really care. I don't care. To me, he wasn't really a big, important Looney Tune character to me. So that didn't bother me. Then, of course, Lola Bunny, right? So Zendaya voicing Lola wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. I still would prefer the original voice actress that played Lola Bunny in the first Space Jam movie. And her name is Catherine Suchi or Susie. I'm so sorry if I pronounced that totally wrong. But I really like her voice, and I've seen some people be like, oh, they should have gotten Kristen Wiig. Look, I had to Google search that or go on YouTube because I know there is, like, you know, Looney Tunes are still running. And I listened to Kristen Wiig playing Lola. Ew, no, that's a negative, ghostwriter. Not for me. But, I mean, if I had to choose between Zendaya or Kristen Wiig, I would definitely choose Zendaya. Because, like, in the commercials, the previews for Space Jam New Legacy, like, I wasn't digging it at all. I was like, Zendaya just, she kind of like sounded like Beyonce in the Lion King live action remake, but then for some reason in the movie it kind of took that away. Like, it felt more natural, and I don't know if it's because Zendaya has more acting ability than Beyonce does, but for me, I think I ended up really liking Zendaya as Lola Bunny. I could look past it. It's not that big of a deal. Like, I was fretting during the preview. I'm like, ew, that doesn't sound right. But then when I watched it, I was just kind of like, oh, you know, she doesn't sound bad at all. It's cool. No biggie. Then, you know, hopping over to the redesign, no pun intended. Honestly, it's not that big of a deal. I don't know if the people that were freaking out about the redesign were the people that were drooling all over her in the first film because she had that sex appeal. But it's just, to me, I don't know, it's not that big of a deal for people to be complaining about. Like, I looked at the redesign and I thought it was going to be something completely different, something super dramatic, but it's not. It's not. So that I don't understand that. I don't know. Then, like, I hear a lot of people say, right, for this new Space Jam movie, people feel the need to bring up and say, oh, this movie is just Warner Brothers promoting themselves. But I don't think that's really the case. They are in the serververse that is within Warner Brothers. It makes complete sense why you would see a lot of, like, Warner Brothers creations in this movie. Look where it takes place. It's in the serververse at Warner Brothers. It makes complete sense, right? But for some reason, I don't know why that's such, like, a big deal for people. Why people are finding it problematic, I guess. I just don't understand. I liked all those references. I like seeing Warner Brothers quote unquote promote themselves. Like, if that's what you call it, I mean, cool, whatever, but it's not, I don't think it's a reason to dislike this movie. Like, who cares if they want to promote themselves? Let them promote themselves. But I think it's done fairly well. I loved it. If you hated it, cool. That's your opinion. You have every right to feel the way you do. But if you don't like it because of the reasons that I've been stating, then I think those reasons are kind of lame. Overall, this movie isn't supposed to be serious, but I get it, I understand, because when Disney wants to do these live action remakes, I think it's just in our nature for someone who grew up watching the original to feel some type of way about it, so we get overcritical and all that stuff, right? But also, I think this movie, I'm pretty sure a lot of people haven't seen the original Space Jam since they were little and didn't go back to watch it as an adult. That's what I think the difference is. We only remember how good it was from our childhood point of view. Half of the stuff we don't pick up on in films until we rewatch them as an adult. For example, right? All Dogs Go to Heaven. I remember it being this cute, fun movie with a girl and an awesome German Shepherd who took care of this little girl. She was homeless, right? That was my memory. But mind you, I haven't seen this movie since I was a kid. But when I saw it was on Netflix, I decided to rewatch it because I'm like, I love this movie. Oh my god, it's on Netflix. I love this movie so much, right? So tell me why. When I watched it, I rewatched it on Netflix one day, and I never realized how much of an asshole Charlie, the German Shepherd, was. Okay? There was a lot of things I don't remember in this film, only because a lot of it I didn't really understand at the time. I didn't understand what was going on. But rewatching it as an adult, I understand things. I'm picking up on references. And I do understand, like, oh, that was cheesy, but I loved it back then. And you know, you might even still love it now as an adult, right? But like with All Dogs Go to Heaven, like, I'm over here realizing, like, these were dogs who owned a casino. Right? And then you have the bulldog, who is the villain of this movie. He kidnapped this girl off the streets and was using her to make money, and because, like, I guess she could talk to animals and basically figure out who's gonna be like the winner, and they could place bets and all that stuff and basically kind of cheat, right? Charlie, the saint that I thought he was, in order to get back at this villain that tried to kill him, mind you, right? He hit Charlie with a car. And I clearly don't remember that. But anyways, Charlie ends up taking the girl, promising her that, oh, we'll find you a family. But really, he lies to her on multiple occasions and uses her just like the villain did. I'm rewatching this film like, I don't remember any of this happening. And I think if we want to criticize something, right, especially if we grew up watching it, but we haven't seen it since we were little, I think we really need to go back and watch these things as an adult, so that way I think we can actually put something together, an actual thought of like, well, in the first movie it did this, but the second movie didn't really live up to it because of some valid reasons, right? And my boyfriend, we went to the movies together to watch this, and he loved it too. And he said something to me on the phone not that long ago because we were discussing this movie again. And he had an interesting point. He says, we get nostalgia mixed up with a good film. Just because it's nostalgic doesn't necessarily mean it was a great film. Or a good film, or whatever. There is a difference. And I never thought about it like that before until he said it. And I was like, that makes complete sense. A Space Jam New Legacy is not the best movie. It is not. Don't get me wrong. Even though I'm defending this movie, is it a great movie? Of course not. It is not a great movie. However, it fulfilled my nostalgia of the original Space Jam. And it may not have done that with a lot of the rest of you millennials out there. And that's okay, that's fine, you know. I guess, you know, when I go harsh on my Disney live action stuff, you know, I guess in a way it can be seen as such, but the only difference is I've rewatched these Disney original movies plenty of times. I didn't go back to watch the original Space Jam until they announced the second one. I think the only thing I will say though is that the soundtrack for the first movie is definitely much better than the soundtrack for Space Jam: A New Legacy. For sure, 100%. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Tell me what you guys think down below in the comment section. If you guys disagree with what I said, how would you guys do this movie differently? That's what I want to know. I want to discuss this, and especially with the whole like, well, Warner Brothers is promoting themselves. Like, I just genuinely want to know, like, how is that an issue, or what makes it so problematic, or I guess annoying to you if you felt like that was like a flaw for the movie or whatever. But I want to hear some actual reasons of why you guys didn't like this movie. But anyways, if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new, feel free to subscribe, but don't feel obligated to. It's just a suggestion. And once again, thank you all for listening, and thanks for watching, and I shall chat with you soon in the next video. Bye! Everybody get up, it's time to slam now. We got a real jam going down. Welcome to the Space Jam. Here's your chance, do your dance at the Space Jam. Alright. Come on and slam, and welcome to the jam. Come on and slam if you wanna jam.